She returned to her old school reunion in a simple blue dress, hiding the life she had built far away. But when her secret came to light, no one in the hall could believe what they saw. Stay tuned because you are about to watch a beautiful story and find out what happened. Hello, family. Welcome to Tales Haven. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories. Thank you as you do. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. The invitation had come weeks ago. Printed on glossy paper with golden letters, it read, Maplewood High Class of 2005 to 20-year reunion. It had been sent out by a committee of old classmates still living in town. They wanted a grand evening in the old school hall, filled with laughter, memories, and stories of success. When Clara Benson held the card in her hands, she didn't know whether to smile or to tear it apart. Maplewood was the place she had once called home, but also the place that held her deepest scars. It was here that she had sat quietly at the back of classrooms while others mocked her faded clothes. Here that she had walked alone in the hallways, clutching secondhand books, wishing she could disappear. After graduation, Clara had left Maplewood the very next morning. She didn't look back. Poverty had chased her out, but determination pushed her forward. For 20 years, she lived in another city, working hard, failing, learning, rising, until the poor girl from Maplewood built an empire. Today, she was not only successful, she was one of the wealthiest women in the country. But nobody back home knew. The night of the reunion, Clara prepared herself quietly. She stood before the mirror of her penthouse bedroom, dressed not in diamonds or glitter, but in a simple blue dress that reached just below her knees. It was elegant but plain, the kind of dress that blended into a crowd. Her hair was neatly tied at the back, and her makeup was soft, almost invisible. She wore no flashy jewelry, only a silver bracelet her late mother had given her. She had many choices, wardrobes full of gowns, cars that would make people's jaws drop, but Clara didn't want attention. Not yet. Tonight, she came for something deeper, to see if her past still had power over her, or if she had finally outgrown it. Clara stepped into her sleek black luxury car. Its polished surface reflected the city lights as she drove out, the quiet engine humming like a secret. The trip to Maplewood was long, the roads lined with memories she had buried. Her heart was steady, but every mile closer to her old town carried a weight she couldn't shake. When she arrived at Maplewood High, she slowed her car. The parking lot near the hall was crowded with vehicles, some modest, some fancy. She could already imagine the whispers if anyone saw her step out of such a car. How did Clara get that? Is she pretending? She thought.
So, she made a decision.
She turned down a quiet side street and parked her car under a line of old oak trees, far from the school lights. Locking it carefully, she walked the rest of the way. Each step on the familiar cracked sidewalks felt like stepping into her old life again. The school hall was glowing with lights when she arrived. Balloons floated near the ceiling, long tables were covered in white cloths, and the walls displayed photographs of graduating classes. Laughter spilled out into the night as she opened the doors. Inside, people hugged tightly, their voices rising in joy. Some carried themselves with pride, eager to show off their careers and families. Others wore smiles that didn't quite reach their eyes, hiding lives that hadn't turned out as planned. Clara entered quietly. Nobody noticed at first. She kept to the side, her eyes roaming over the decorations. She spotted her own class photo on the far wall, framed in gold like the rest. And there she was, her teenage self. A skinny girl with downcast eyes, standing awkwardly at the edge of the picture. A flood of memories pressed against her chest. She stepped closer, running her fingers gently across the glass, as if touching that girl who had once felt so small. Clara? The voice was low but warm, breaking through the noise of the room. Clara turned quickly. Standing a few steps away was Ethan Miller. Time had changed him, but not completely. His hair was shorter now, darker at the sides, his shoulders broader, his face more defined. But his eyes, the same gentle, honest eyes that once looked at her without judgment, were unchanged. For a heartbeat, Clara forgot where she was. She remembered him sitting next to her in math class, sharing his notes when others refused. She remembered the times he defended her against Amanda Collins and her friends, who mocked her shoes or called her names. Ethan had been her only real friend in those years, the only one who saw her not as the poor girl, but as Clara. He smiled, shaking his head in disbelief. I can't believe it's you. After all these years. Her lips curved into a soft smile. Hello, Ethan. You look different, he said, his voice carrying wonder. But still the same somehow. I was hoping I'd see you tonight. Clara's chest warmed at his words. I wasn't sure I'd come, she admitted. But I guess I needed to. Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice. Sometimes we have to face the past, even if it wasn't kind. Their eyes held for a moment, and suddenly the noise of the reunion faded behind them. In the middle of the crowded hall, it was as if only two people stood there, two old friends, reunited after 20 years, back in the same place where their story first began. But the noise of the reunion quickly returned around them. Laughter grew louder near the center of the hall where the most confident classmates gathered. Glasses clinked, heels tapped on the wooden floor, and old stories were thrown across the room like confetti. Ethan motioned toward a small table near the wall. Come on, let's sit for a while. I want to hear everything. Clara nodded, and together they made their way through the crowd. As they walked, heads began to turn. Some classmates squinted, whispering. Clara noticed the stares, but pretended not to. She sat down gracefully, folding her hands on the table, while Ethan leaned forward with the same boyish curiosity she remembered from high school. You really disappeared, Ethan said softly, keeping his voice low so only she could hear. The morning after graduation, you were just gone. No one knew where you went. I tried asking around, but it was like you vanished. Clara's eyes lowered, her smile faint. I had to leave, Ethan. Staying here would have broken me. So, I left with nothing but determination. It was the hardest thing I ever did, but maybe also the best. Ethan studied her face for a moment, hearing more in her words than she spoke aloud. And now here you are. You seem stronger, Clara. Different. Before she could answer, a shrill laugh cut through the air. It was Amanda Collins. The same Amanda who had ruled their school halls with her beauty, her expensive clothes, and her sharp tongue. Time had changed her hair, styled into soft golden curls now, but not her attitude. She still carried herself like a queen among servants. Surrounded by her group of friends, she moved through the hall, her heels clicking against the polished floor as though the room belonged to her. And then she saw Clara. Amanda's step slowed. Her lips curved into a smirk that spread quickly into laughter. She turned to her friends, whispering loudly enough for half the hall to hear. Well, look at that. The quiet mouse came back. Her friends burst into giggles, and the sound cut into Clara's chest like the echoes of old wounds. Ethan's eyes darkened, but Clara only sat still, her face calm. Amanda walked closer, her perfume strong, her smile sharp. Clara Benson. I never thought you'd actually show up. Still the same plain little thing, I see. Tell me, what do you do these days? Folding clothes at the laundromat? Stocking shelves at the grocery store? The group around her laughed again. The sound rolled through the hall, catching the attention of more classmates. People began to turn curious. Some frowned at Amanda's cruelty, others watched in silence, waiting to see how Clara would react. Ethan pushed his chair back sharply, his jaw set. Amanda, that's enough, he said firmly. His voice carried across the table, drawing even more eyes. You haven't changed at all, have you? Still making fun of people to feel big. Amanda raised her eyebrows, pretending to be innocent. Oh, come on, Ethan. We're just having fun. It's a reunion. We're supposed to laugh, remember? Laughing with people, Amanda. Ethan shot back. Not at them. For the first time that evening, Clara lifted her gaze. Her eyes met Amanda's, steady and calm, without anger. You're right about one thing, Amanda, she said quietly. I am still the same in some ways. I'm still quiet. But don't mistake quiet for weak. The words landed softly but firmly, echoing through the silence that had fallen around them. A few classmates at nearby tables exchanged glances, whispering. Some even nodded slowly, as if impressed that Clara had finally spoken up. Amanda opened her mouth to reply, but the confident grin on her face faltered just a little. She hadn't expected Clara to speak with such calm strength. For a moment, she looked unsettled, but then she tossed her hair and forced a laugh. Well, we'll see how long that confidence lasts. She turned back to her group, but the sparkle of amusement in her eyes wasn't as strong as before. Ethan leaned closer to Clara, his voice soft but full of pride. That was perfect. You didn't let her win. Clara gave him a small smile. I didn't come here to fight. I came here to see, to listen, to remember. Ethan studied her carefully. Clara, you're not the same girl they knew. I can see it. They don't realize yet, but they will. Music swelled again, and the hall relaxed back into small circles of chatter. But something had changed. People kept glancing toward the small table where Clara and Ethan sat. Some did it with open curiosity, some with guarded surprise, and a few with quiet respect, as if they had just seen a side of her they never knew. Ethan slid a glass of sparkling water to her. You okay? I'm fine, Clara said. And she meant it. The old hurt was there, but it did not control her. Not anymore. Two classmates approached, Noah Reed, once the class clown, and Grace Turner, who used to run the school newspaper. They smiled, a little unsure. Clara, right? Grace asked. It's good to see you. It's been a long time, Noah added, rubbing the back of his neck. You look well. Thank you, Clara said softly. For a moment they chatted about teachers, the track meets, the school fair where the gym had smelled like popcorn and paint. Grace laughed, then grew serious. I don't like how Amanda talked to you. That wasn't right. Back then or now. Clara's smile was small but warm. Thank you for saying that. Across the room, Amanda Collins watched, chin lifted. Her laugh was louder than before, but the confidence behind it was thinner. She leaned to her friend and whispered, too loudly, Give it 5 minutes. She'll be gone. Clara didn't turn.
Ethan did.
He saw the performance for what it was. Fear wearing a pretty dress. A microphone squeaked. The music faded as Mr. Harper, the history teacher turned principal, stepped onto the small stage. He wore a navy jacket, a proud, tired smile, and the same kind eyes he'd had 20 years ago. Good evening, class of 2005, he said. The room cheered. It's a blessing to see you all again. Some of you traveled far. Some of you built your lives close to home. All of you are part of Maplewood's story. He thanked the planning committee, then gestured toward the decorated tables. And, before we continue, we need to acknowledge something important. This event nearly didn't happen the way you see it tonight. We had a budget, but it wasn't enough for the hall, the band, the catering, and the memory wall. A ripple moved through the room. Heads turned. Amanda's smile returned, slow and bright. A few of her friends looked at her as if ready to clap. Mr. Harper continued. Someone stepped in. Quietly. They gave, not for applause, but because they love what the school once gave them. The person asked to remain anonymous at first. But I asked for permission to share a name, not to embarrass them, but to give proper thanks. Whispers grew. People traded guesses. A small chant started near Amanda's table, playful, then eager. Say it. Say it. Ethan glanced at Clara. She was still. Not tense, just still. Her eyes rested on the speaker, calm and clear. Mr. Harper lifted a card, glanced down and smiled. Our reunion's full sponsor. The reason tonight looks and feels like a dream is one of your own. Seconds stretched thin. Clara Benson. Silence fell so fast that a fork clink on a plate sounded like a bell. Then the hall inhaled at once, gasps, surprised laughs, a few claps that stumbled into a wave. People turned in a single motion toward the small table by the wall. Ethan didn't clap first. He looked at Clara, really looked. Pride rose in his face, soft and bright, as if he had been waiting 20 years to hear this moment sing. Across the room, Amanda's smile collapsed, then returned in pieces, like glass struggling to look whole. She shook her head once, as if the sound had come out wrong. Mr. Harper raised a hand for quiet. Clara didn't want attention. She gave because she wanted her class to gather without worry, to remember who we were and see who we've become. Applause grew, real this time, steady and full. Clara stood, not high or dramatic, just enough to be seen. She nodded to Mr. Harper, then to the room, small, grateful nods that said this is not about me, and yet, somehow, I am not hiding anymore. Ethan leaned in, voice low. You didn't tell me. I didn't come to be seen, she said, a gentle humor in her eyes. But I won't run either. From the stage, Mr. Harper smiled toward her. Clara, if you're willing, we'd love a few words later. She gave a single, steady nod. Around them, the currents in the room shifted. People moved closer, not with a sharp, hungry look of gossip, but with something softer, wonder, maybe. Questions floated in the air, unspoken. Where did she go? What did she build?
Who is she now?
Amanda's circle pulled tight, voices in fast whispers. She can't be that successful. Maybe it's alone. Maybe she married rich. Ethan saw the cornered look in Amanda's eyes and touched the back of Clara's chair, just once, a quiet anchor. Let them guess, he murmured. The truth doesn't need to shout. Mr. Harper returned the mic to its stand. Enjoy your meals. We'll have the slideshow in 10 minutes, then a brief message from our sponsor. The band began a soft tune. Servers rolled out trays that smelled like butter and herbs. The memory wall glowed under string lights, old faces frozen in their younger courage. Clara sat, the room still watching. She did not shrink. She didn't swell either. She simply belonged, here, in the school that once held her small, now holding her steady. And somewhere between the clink of glasses and the rustle of tablecloths, Maplewood understood. The quiet girl had returned, not with noise, but with a name that had just changed the night. The hall settled. Plates touched the tables, napkins unfolded, and soft music floated above the hum of voices. The screen near the stage flickered to life. The slideshow began. Old photos rolled past, pep rallies, science fairs, prom night. Laughter bubbled when someone's old haircut appeared. A hush followed a picture of the library, where a girl in the back row stared into a book, as if it was a door. Clara recognized herself. She felt the memory, but it didn't sting. It simply belonged to her story. A photo of the track team slid up. Ethan, 16, smiling, mud on his shoes, stood at the edge of the group. Clara smiled without meaning to. Another photo showed Amanda in a glitter dress, a crown on her hair, both hands raised like she was born on a stage. The room cheered. Even now, the image still carried power. When the last photo faded, Mr. Harper returned to the microphone. Thank you for the memories, he said. Now, before we return to the music, I'd like to invite our sponsor to share a word. Clara Benson, would you join us? Chairs whispered back. Heads turned. Clara rose. Ethan stood with her for a second. He didn't speak, just rested his hand lightly on the back of her chair, steady, quiet, like a small bridge she could cross. She gave him a nod and walked to the stage. Clara didn't rush. She took the step slowly, the way someone approaches a cliff and chooses not to fear the height. When she reached the microphone, she didn't grip it hard. She simply held it, then looked out at faces she knew and faces she barely remembered. Good evening, she said. Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The room leaned in. Thank you for coming together tonight, she began. This school gave us more than classes. It gave us our first mirrors. Some of us liked what we saw. Some of us didn't. I didn't. A quiet murmur passed. Clara's tone stayed soft. After graduation, I left the next morning. I had to. I was afraid that if I stayed, I would stay small forever. Life away from here wasn't easy. I failed more times than I can count. I learned things the hard way. But little by little doors opened. People were kind. Work mattered. Faith helped. And somehow, the quiet girl found a louder life. She paused, let the words breathe. I didn't sponsor tonight to prove anything, she said. I did it because I wanted us to meet without worry. No tickets too high, no corners cut. I wanted us to remember that we were kids once, and sometimes kids are careless with each other. I was hurt here. Others were too. But tonight, we get to choose what kind of adults we are. A few eyes shone under the lights. Even the band members at the back had gone still. I also want to leave something behind, Clara added. Not a speech.
A door.
She turned a little toward Mr. Harper. Starting this year, I'm funding the Quiet Courage Scholarship for Maplewood students who need help to keep going, fees, supplies, a small grant for a first step. It will run every year. It's not charity. It's a hand on someone's back when the hill is steep. The room did not clap at once. It felt the weight first. Then the applause rose, gentle, then strong, then standing. People looked at each other with the unexpected relief of a better ending than they knew to hope for. Clara lowered the microphone. Thank you, she said simply, and stepped back. As she turned from the podium, Amanda moved. She stood up from her table, walked forward a few steps, and spoke before the next song could start. So, this is what you do now. Amanda called out, trying to sound amused. Give big speeches? Buy little scholarships? You disappear for 20 years, and then show up to play hero. The room tensed. Someone at her table tugged her sleeve, but Amanda shook them off. Her smile looked bright. Her eyes did not. Clara didn't flinch. She stepped toward the edge of the stage, keeping her voice the same as before. No, Amanda. I'm not a hero. I'm just grateful. That's all. Amanda crossed her arms. Grateful for what? For the hard years, Clara said. They taught me to work. For the kind people, few but real. They taught me how to see others. And yes, even for the unkind moments, they taught me what I never want to be. A long, thin silence stretched between them. It wasn't cruel. It was clear. Clara added, we were young. We didn't always know what our words could do. But we know now. Mr. Harper stepped closer, ready to calm the room if needed. He didn't have to. Amanda looked away first. She brushed a curl behind her ear and laughed a short, dry laugh.
Well,
good for you. Clara nodded once. Good for all of us if we choose it. A soft clapping began somewhere near the back, not for a performance, but for a choice. It grew, steady and warm, and it didn't sound like winning. It sounded like release. Clara came down the steps. Ethan met her halfway, eyes bright, voice low. You were clear. And kind. I meant it, she said. I know, he replied. They walked together through the aisle. People reached out, hands, hugs, small words of thanks. Those who had stayed quiet in school now found words. Those who had been loud found quiet. The band picked up a gentle tune, and the hall softened into something close to peace. At the edge of the room, by the memory wall, Clara stopped. A photo of the library still glowed on the screen above, the girl in the back row frozen in time. Clara looked at her and felt no need to rescue her anymore. Behind them, Amanda stood very still, one hand on a chair, the other on her own pulse. The crown in the slideshow looked lighter than the one in her chest. She glanced toward the doors, then back at the stage, fighting a choice only she could make. Mr. Harper raised his glass. To the class of 2005, he said, voice thick and happy. To second chances. And to quiet courage. Glasses lifted. The room answered, not with a cheer, but with a resounding, tender yes. And in that yes, the night turned away from who they had been, toward who they could be next. The toast settled like warm light over the room. Conversations rose again, softer now, touched by the feeling that something important had shifted. Mr. Harper reached Clara first. Thank you, he said, his voice rough with emotion. For the speech and for the scholarship. Clara nodded. Make it simple to apply. Not only grades. Look for effort, kindness, and need. We will, he promised. Noah Reed and Grace Turner came next. Noah scratched his chin. I used to joke about everything. Tonight, I won't. That was good. Grace squeezed Clara's hand. If you ever want to write up for the school site, I'll do it right. Thank you, Clara said. Keep the focus on the students, not on me. As people drifted in and out with hugs and small words, the band played an easy song. Clara felt the room breathe, less like a show, more like a gathering. The memory wall glowed at her back, and for once it did not feel like a mirror of pain. It felt like a map that had finally found its roads. From the side aisle, Amanda stepped forward. She had taken off her crown from the photo slideshow in her mind, even if her posture tried to keep it. She stopped a pace away from Clara. "I don't want a scene," Amanda said, the sharpness gone from her voice. "Just a minute." Clara waited, open but calm. Amanda's eyes flicked to the stage, then back. "I said things earlier I shouldn't have.
I said worse things back then."
I can list excuses. Young, stupid, loud. But the truth is I liked the power. I'm sorry. The words were not pretty, but they were real. Around them, the chatter thinned, then moved on, politely leaving space. Clara answered plainly. "Thank you for saying it." Amanda swallowed. "We don't have to be friends." "We don't," Clara agreed, kind but firm. "Peace is enough." Amanda gave a small, almost surprised nod, as if she had been given exactly what she could carry and no more. She stepped back. The air around them eased. A few songs later, Ethan touched Clara's elbow. Fresh air. They slipped out the side doors into the cool night. The school lawn stretched under old oaks, the same trees that had watched them grow up. Crickets stitched a quiet rhythm under the music leaking from the hall. "I'm proud of you," Ethan said simply. Clara looked at him, the corners of her mouth lifting. "I'm grateful for you. You made those hard years bearable." They walked the sidewalk toward the side street. "You parked far," he said, half teasing. "I didn't want whispers before the night even started," Clara replied. "I wanted to see the room before the room saw me." They turned the corner. Her black car waited under the trees, polished but patient. Ethan let out a low breath and laughed once.
"Well,
some things did change." "Some," she said, amused. "Not all." He studied her face. "Not the part that matters." They stood there a moment, unhurried. The school hall glowed behind them like a lighthouse that finally learned to turn its beam in every direction, not just toward the stage. "I'm going to do more than the scholarship," Clara said. "The library needs new shelves, quiet study booths, laptops students can borrow. Will you help Mr. Harper design it? You know what a classroom needs better than I do." Ethan's eyes warmed. "I will. Gladly." They exchanged numbers without ceremony, like picking up a conversation paused years ago. No promises they couldn't keep, just a clear next step. "Coffee tomorrow before I drive back?" Ethan asked. His tone was light, but careful, an invitation with space to breathe. Clara considered, then smiled.
"Yes."
"The diner on Maple Street."
8.
8, he echoed, as if the time itself was a small gift. From the hall, a cheer rose and fell. Someone had started a silly dance. Someone else had joined. The class was laughing again. But it was a different laughter, less sharp, more shared. Clara opened her car door, then paused, one hand on the frame.
"Ethan."
"Yeah? Thank you for believing in me when it didn't make sense." He shrugged, gentle. "It always made sense." She sat, the engine waking with a quiet hum. The dashboard lights painted her hands. For a breath, they both looked back toward the school. "See you in the morning," he said. "See you," she answered. Clara pulled away slowly, the tires whispering over the road. As she passed the school, she saw the reflection of the hall lights glide over the car's hood and vanish into the night ahead. Inside, the reunion would go on. Apologies would be said in corners. Numbers would be exchanged. Plans would be made. And in the days to come, the Quiet Courage Scholarship would open its first application. The library plan would land on Mr. Harper's desk, and a student who felt small would find a door with her name on it. Clara drove toward the hotel, windows cracked to let the cool air in. The girl in the back row was part of her, but she was not all of her. The door she opened tonight wasn't only for the past. It was for the next person who needed it. And under the old oaks of Maplewood, two friends had found their way back to the same page, quietly, clearly, letting tomorrow arrive on time. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you find this story worth watching. If you do, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories, like, and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Your support and engagement encourage me to post more videos. Thanks for watching.